We will get started in just a moment. I'm just trying to confirm everyone's here.
I'm just checking my microphone. Is it working?
I think we can hear you. I think we can get started. So if Kara, you are recording, if you could start the recording. Thank you very much. I am just going to make sure we're all here and that I've caught you as you've gotten online, so we know who we're expected. I am Kathy Mayer, by the way. I'm the Director of Private Post-Secondary Institutions. Elizabeth Mayer, I see you're online.
Good morning.
Good morning. Paul Schuler, are you online? Yes. All right. Our CAC members, I think I have all of you but one. Dorothy Langley, are you online?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Yes.
Oh, good afternoon.
Gina Anderson, I don't think I have seen Gina yet. All right, hopefully she will be able to join us. Tom Ronk, I think I saw you, yes.
I'm here. Yeah.
Jane Michella,
Present.
yes. John Vassar, I think I saw you. Did I see you, John? Yes.
Here.
Cheryl Sneed Green, I wasn't sure if you were going to be able to make it, but I see you there. All right, now Dr. Ruth Reinhardt is one of our site team leaders. There's Ruth. I saw, is it Nina Nunez, or is it Nina?
It's Nina Nunez.
Nina. All right, I saw you. And is Bill Pirat also online? Yes.
I'm here. Yes, thank you.
How about Dr. John Hummer? Is he available yet?
So unfortunately, President Hummer had some flight issues
That's
and
fine.
is en route, but may not be able to join us. So
Sure.
I'm prepared to cover for both of us today.
Great. All right, Chuck Fox, he is another site team lead. Chuck, did I see you?
Yes,
online?
I'm here.
Yes. And Jacob Howland, I just saw you.
Yes, hi.
And then I understand we also have Mike Shires from University of Austin. Is that correct? Yes. All right. Is there anybody that I missed as I was going around looking at screens? Anybody I did not? Okay, I think we're good. All right. And I just wanted to note that University of Austin, we have developed a shorthand between them because of our protected terms. So the application might say University of Austin, but we also use UATX as a shorthand to refer to them. Let's get started. I would like to welcome you to the Certification Advisory Council meeting. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I'm getting some nods. The meeting is being webcast today. We are meeting virtually via the Zoom platform. I would like to remind participants to mute yourself when not speaking and unmute when speaking. Please ensure your video is on so others can see when you talk. And we're a relatively small group, so you can indicate if you have a comment or a question by either using the hand icon or sending a request to speak, or it's probably just okay to just wave. Before we get started, I wanted to acknowledge that the coordinating board at the July 2023 quarterly meeting reappointed for an additional 2-year term 3 of our current CAC members, Dr. Cheryl Sneed Green, Dr. Gina Anderson, and our chair, Dr. Dorothy Langley. Thank you to each of you for agreeing to serve another term. We have 2 applications under consideration today. Burrell College of Osteopathic Medicine is applying for its 3rd certificate of authority, and University of Austin is applying for an initial certificate of authority. Coordinating board staff present today are Elizabeth Mayer, Assistant Commissioner, Academic and Health Affairs, Paul Schuler, Manager and Staff Liaison, who coordinated the on-site team visits, and I am Cam Mayert, Director for Private Post-Secondary Institutions. I want to welcome our Certification Advisory Council members and CAC members. After I state your name, please identify yourself and give your institution and title. Dr. Dorothy Langley.
Yes, my name is Dorothy Langley, Jarvis Christian University in Hawkins. I am currently the Dean of Adult and Continuing Education and the Project Lead for Workforce Initiatives.
And did we have Dr. Gina Anderson join us? No. All right. Dr. Cheryl Sneed Green.
Good afternoon. My name is Cheryl Sneed Green. I am with Prairie View A&M University, and I am Assistant Provost.
Great. And Dr. Jane Michella.
Hi, I'm Jane Michella, Executive Vice President and Provost of Parker University.
Dr. John Vassar.
I serve as Provost and Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs at the University of Mary Hardin Baylor.
And Mr. Tom Ronk.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm with Houston Community College, and I'm the Associate Vice Chancellor, Workforce Program Research and Development.
Great. All right. Without Gina, I want to assure you we still have a quorum of 5 members. We will have the institution representatives and site team leads introduce themselves at the point that the CAC considers each certificate of authority application. So at this time, I will turn the meeting over to our chair, Dr. Dorothy Langley.
Good evening, everyone. We will go ahead and get started at this time. First thing on our agenda is to consider the summary of notes from the February 2nd, 2023 meeting. Have the CAC members reviewed the February 2nd, 2023 meeting notes that were mailed to you prior to the meeting today?
Yes,
Anyone did not receive them? Are there any revisions? If not, let me ask for a motion and second to approve.
I moved.
Anyone? Go ahead.
So moved. Jane Michella.
Thank you. Second,
I second the motion.
thank you. Any discussion? Okay, at this time, we received a motion by Jane Michella, and we received a second by Cheryl Sneed Green. We're going to vote individually at this time if there are no one for discussion. So we can start with our CAC members to vote, please.
Oh,
Aye.
go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Dr. Langley, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And Dr. Sneed Green,
Yes.
Dr. Michella,
Yes.
Dr. Vassar,
Yes.
and Mr. Ronk.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. The February 2nd, 2023 meeting summary notes are approved. Thank you. Next, we're going to move into the consideration and possible action on the application for the 3rd Certificate of Authority for Burrell College for Osteopathic Medicine. Today, we're considering the application for Burrell College of Osteopathic Medicine for its 3rd Certificate of Authority. The college is located in Las Cruz, New Mexico, but has a site in El Paso, Texas, to coordinate clinical rotations and proctor exams for its 3rd and 4th year students. The college awards a Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine degree, The CAC members have received the site visit report and Burrell's response to the report. At this time, I'm going to ask the Burrell representative to introduce himself, name, and title. And if you have anyone else with you at this time.
Thank you.
Yes, Cam. I'm sorry.
Yes. Mike Shires, will you be representing Burrell or will that be Nina?
I'm with UATX, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think it's
I'm
Bill
sorry.
Peratt, I believe.
Nina and Bill Peratt. I'm sorry. I looked at the wrong person.
Not a problem. So again, my name is Bill Peratt. I serve as the Dean and Chief Academic Officer here at Burrell. I have been here for approximately 3 years. For those of you who were here the last time we applied for a certificate, I apologize for the redundancy, but for those of you who may not know, our college was chartered and founded in 2013. We seated our first class in 2016 and graduated that class in 2020. Our initial certificate with the coordinating board was obtained in 2019. Our mission is about providing increased access to healthcare through a diverse workforce here in the Southwest. We are, as was mentioned, we're located in the south central part of New Mexico. We're only about 45 miles due north of El Paso. And so we work closely with others in this region. We have been operating with a memorandum of understanding with Texas Tech Paul Foster School of Medicine. We report our clerkship students and their schedules to Dr. Lang and his team every December for the coming year. We've done that since we've had clerkship students in the El Paso region, and we've had no issues to date with capacity. I'm happy to stand for questions, and I would also like to introduce Ms. Nina Nunez and offer her the opportunity to add any other comments.
Good afternoon. We've also been working on becoming accredited by a recognized accreditor through the CB. We're currently accredited by the COCA, which is the Commission on Osteopathic College Accreditation, as our programmatic and institutional accreditor. But we have been making significant progress with the Higher Learning Commission. And so we just were granted candidacy status by the Higher Learning Commission. So we were thrilled to meet that accomplishment. And we are actually scheduled for an early initial accreditation site visit in the fall of next year. And so we're right on track, and we're looking forward to obtaining that regional accreditation.
Thank you. Cam? I see your hand's up. Your hand is up?
No, my hand is not up. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. That's okay. Thank you. We appreciate those introductions and overview. Next, we're going to ask the site team lead to introduce herself. Is Dr. Ruth Reinhardt on?
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon. I am Ruth Reinhardt. I serve as Associate Vice Chancellor for Student Support Services at Austin Community College, and I was the team lead for this visit at Burrell College.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We're going to ask Cam if she will remind the CAC members of the Certificate of Authority process and validity timeline.
Yes. So each certificate of authority is valid for 2 years. If the applications presented today are recommended for approval, staff anticipates that the CAC and commissioners' recommendations will be brought to the October 2023 cause committee and full quarterly board meeting to consider each institution's application. As a reminder, the CAC makes a recommendation to the commissioner and to the coordinating board members. Staff forward this recommendation to the commissioner in a summary memo. The commissioner can make his own recommendation. The recommendations go to the coordinating board at a committee meeting and then to the full board meeting at a quarterly meeting. The certificates of authority, if approved, would then be valid from October 2023 to October 2025. Institutions can apply for and receive certificates of authority for a total of 8 years. At the end of 8 years, the institution must have received Coordinating Board recognized accreditation. Institutions must work toward this recognized accreditation throughout all of their certificate of authority terms. Certification by the state of Texas is not accreditation, but merely a protection of the public interest while the institution pursues accreditation from a recognized agency. Thank you, Dr. Langley.
Thank you, Kim. Now we're going to ask the Burrell representative, and I think that would be Bill, to provide a 5 to 10 minute overview of the institution's degree program and any additional accreditation plans.
Thank you, Dr. Langley. So as was mentioned, our degree program awards the Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine degree at the conclusion of 4 years. Our first 2 years of the curriculum are deemed our preclinical curriculum, done completely on site here in Las Cruces. Obviously, the foundational basic sciences and early clinical sciences. And then after the 2 years, students progress into the 3rd year of core clerkship rotations, rotations in internal medicine, family medicine, pediatrics, psychiatry, OB-GYN, and surgery. In our case, as was mentioned, we do have one regional academic center where those clinical rotations are all conducted in El Paso. We have a distributed campus model with 6 other regional regional academic centers, 4 in New Mexico, 1 in Tucson, Arizona, El Paso, as was mentioned, and 1 in Rockledge, Florida. Our students do their core rotations during the 3rd year, and then in the 4th year, they participate in elective rotations, usually refining their career choice, auditioning for a residency spot, and then interviewing and matching into a residency before graduation. So that is kind of a brief overarching view of our 4-year curriculum. And then obviously our students are also engaged with the licensing exam pathway through either the NBOME's COMLEX or the USMLE's STEP processes, the 3 exam sequence, where they take the first 2 exams prior to graduation. So I'm happy to answer any questions about our program if there are any.
Thank you so much. At this time, I would like to ask the Burrell Site Team Lead, and I believe that is Ruth, to provide a 5 to 10 minute overview of the team.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Langley. So the team comprised myself, and then I also had Kemp Lewis. He was Executive Director Budget and Financial Systems at UNT Health Science Center, along with Dr. Sharon Guzowski, Campus Dean at Kansas City University College of Orthopedic Medicine. So we were the team that went out to Burrell. We had a 3-day visit along with Paul. And I will say that the team at Burrell was amazing. They were very hospitable to us when we arrived and throughout our whole visit. These students, faculty, and staff really provided some really great insight to us regarding their experiences at the college. Even when we traveled to El Paso to do a site visit there, everybody was very enthusiastic about the program. The support that they received from staff and faculty was overwhelming. We heard some really great stories about the support that students receive. So I do want to highlight them because that was amazing. As in my role at ACC, student success is really important, and they're really trying to fill a gap in that area for the community in terms of providing healthcare for that community. And they're doing a great job by educating all these students. And it was amazing. The students thought the curriculum was really good, faculty really accessible. We did not see any issues when we did the review. When we needed additional information, they were prompt to provide that information to us. And they were always on site helping us and guiding us through the process. We went on tours of the facility. They kind of told us about their expansion plans. They were very transparent with us during our visit. So we, as a team, did not see any red flags for this school, and we support their recertification.
Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Team report overview. At this time, we're going to ask for questions from the CAC members regarding the site evaluation report. I want to encourage the CAC members to ask questions so that they're able to make a recommendation on approval or denial of the application. Please also be reminded that the outcome of any questions is determined if all standards have been met. The CAC members I have other general questions, but the focus of this discussion is the standards and if the applicant has met those standards. I want to note that the site report indicated all 24 standards were deemed met. Standard 15, general education, and standard 16, credit for the work outside a collegiate setting, was determined not applicable. So at this time, I'm going to see if we have any questions from the CAC members.
This is Tom. I have no questions. I just want to commend you. I read the site visit report, and I was just really impressed with the fact that you had no recommendations. You met every standard. This is, if you're third now, right? So, and I'm glad to hear about the accreditation. That's really good news. So thank you, and the team, Ruth and the site visitors, you did a thorough job. It was really, straightforward reading through the standards and the responses. So congratulations from my perspective.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? CAC members? I'm shaking the heads. Yes, no? Okay. If we don't have any additional comments or questions, I'm going to make a final request for any additional questions raised by the report or institution responses. The CAC is tasked with making a recommendation to the commissioner and the coordinating board regarding the current application. Excuse me, based on the discussion and questions today and comments, the CAC can make a recommendation to either approve or deny the application. The CAC can also defer a recommendation and ask the applicant for additional information if it believes there is not enough information to make a recommendation. Let me ask the THECB staff if they have any requested restrictions or conditions should the CAC members vote to recommend approval of the Burrell application for a certificate of authority. And that's going to go to Cam and Elizabeth Paul.
Yeah, I'll take that one. At this time, the coordinating board staff doesn't have any requests for restrictions or conditions, but of course would be open to bringing any restrictions or conditions forward to the commissioner and the coordinating board members. And then again, the commissioner, upon review of the application documents, may always recommend adding additional restrictions or conditions.
Thank you, Cam. At this time, I'd like to ask for a motion and second to either recommend approval or recommend denial of the Burrell College of Osteopathic Medicine's application for its third certification of authority. If the CAC members would rather defer a recommendation and ask for additional information, a motion can also be made to delay recommendation until further review of the specific standards or information that the CAC would like to have before making a recommendation. If the recommendation is to deny Burrell application, we would move to the next section. So at this time, is there a motion on the floor?
I'd like to make a motion to approve. Jane Michella.
Okay, thanks, Jane.
I second that motion, John Vassar.
Thank you. Okay, the motion has been made to approve by Jay and second by Mr. Bassett. I'm going to move to the next session. The motion to recommend or denial of the Borough College of Occupational Medicine application for a third certification authority or to delay is passed. So we are going to submit an approval. So at this time, I believe we need to vote openly, Cam.
Yes, yes, if you could all individually vote, that would be great.
And this is Dorothy, and I vote yes.
Tom,
Yes.
let's see, I'm going to run. Jane Michelle
Yes.
and Cheryl Sneed Green,
Yes.
John Vassar.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I think I have all five.
Thank you, Cam. I think that's it for Burrell. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Okay. Next, we're going to move to, and thank you so much to Burrell for your participation in this process. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Langley, and members of the council. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Next, we're going to move to consideration and possible action on the application for an initial certification of authority for UATX. Today, we're considering the application from the University of Austin, or UATX, for an initial certification of authority. The schools plan to operate in Austin, Texas, offering a Bachelor's of Arts in Liberal Arts and Science Liberal Studies. The school currently offers a non-degree forbidden courses summer program. CAC members, you should have received the site business report and UATX's response to the report. At this time, I'm going to ask the UATX's representative to introduce himself with name and title.
Hi, thank you. Well, my name is Jacob Howland. I am the provost of UATX, commonly known as the University of Austin. And I'm also the dean of the Intellectual Foundations Program, which is our general education required core. And I have my colleague, Mike Shires, here, who will introduce himself.
Hi, my name is Mike Shires. I'm the Chief of Staff and VP for Strategic Initiatives at UATX, also known as the University of Austin.
Thank you and welcome. I'm going to ask the team leader to introduce himself, name and title. Team chair.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Chuck Fox. I'm the Chief Fiscal Officer at the University of North Texas Health Science Center.
Thank you so much. At this time, we're going to ask a representative from UATX to provide a 5 to 10 minute overview of the institution's degree program and any additional accreditation plans.
Thank you, Dr. Langley. And I would like to thank THCCB and the council for the time and effort that you've devoted to the careful consideration of our application. I want to say that the site visit and the recommendations of the visiting team were enormously helpful to us. They strengthened our curriculum and they called attention to issues that we needed to address as we move forward. So what is UATX? Well, we're a new university whose mission is to prepare thoughtful and ethical innovators, builders, leaders, public servants, and citizens through open inquiry and civil discourse. We aspire to offer an institutional model that will revitalize higher education as a whole, one founded on the quest for truth and the belief that universities can make a vital contribution to the health and well-being of the United States. Our model minimizes administrative costs, maximizes instructional expenditures, keeps tuition low, and introduces a novel mechanism for securing academic freedom, namely an external adjudicative panel. Since our founding less than 2 years ago in November of 2021, we have raised approximately $190 million. We've hired distinguished faculty to lead our academic programs, including an economist who is regularly on the short list for the Nobel Prize. We have a 27,000 square foot campus, interim campus in downtown Austin, that is currently being renovated. We have filled essential positions, including registrar and librarian, and we've begun to hire faculty, including a former professor at Harvard Divinity School, who is a world-renowned expert on patristics, iconography, and Byzantine studies. We are currently arranging for student housing and board, and we're preparing to launch our recruitment and admissions effort pending THECB approval. Let me talk a bit about our academic vision. The UATX undergraduate curriculum is designed to immerse students in a community of teaching and learning that emphasizes academic rigor, civil discourse, and intellectual risk-taking. We believe that the most fruitful innovations spring from a thoughtful engagement with tradition. Our curriculum combines the rich and varied inheritance of the past with the most compelling ideas of the present to help students see things whole, form sound judgment, and translate knowing into doing and making. We offer a BA in liberal studies, and our curriculum has 3 central components: intellectual foundations, a core program in the liberal arts that is required of all students; the Polaris Project, in which students discover, create, or build something that serves the human good; and our academic centers of inquiry, where students enroll as junior fellows and work with accomplished scholars and researchers in their particular areas of concentration. In order to graduate, students must complete the Intellectual Foundations Program, a Polaris Project, and the interdisciplinary core of one of our academic centers. So let me just say a little bit about each of those 3 components of our curriculum. Intellectual Foundations introduces freshmen and sophomores to the biggest questions of human life and the primary ways human beings have wrestled with them from antiquity to the present. In small discussion-based seminars, supplemented by common lectures, students develop fluency in the various languages of understanding through the study of history, politics, philosophy, religion, literature, art, music, economics, quantitative reasoning, and natural science. They inquire into the nature and conditions of human flourishing, achieve an integrated understanding of the capabilities and limits of different modes of inquiry, and become adept at sorting signal from noise across multiple domains of human experience. Intellectual Foundations comprises 54 credits out of the 180 needed to graduate. And since we have a 3-term year, we multiply 120 by 1.5 to come out with 180 credits. In any case, 54 out of 180 is 30% of the total courses required. Freshman year courses include Chaos and Civilization, Knowing, Doing, Making, Wisdom, Writing in the English Language, The Beginning of Politics, Quantitative Reasoning 1 and 2, Christianity and Islam, Europe and the East, Intellectual Foundations of Economics, and Foundations of Science 1. And the sophomore courses include Modernity and the West, The Uses and Abuses of Technology, Mortality and Meaning in Art and Music, Foundations of Science 2, The American Experiment, and Ideological Experiments of the 20th Century. The Polaris Project translates thought into action, providing a 4-year through line for the undergraduate education and giving it a directed trajectory. Students work with mentors and apprentice with potential employers in our talent network. This is an innovative consortium which now comprises around 100 CEOs and other leaders across multiple industries. And they work with these individuals to, again, do, make, build, or discover something that meets a human need. The Polaris Project is named for the North Star, by which seafarers have navigated for millennia. These projects can be scholarly, technical, artistic, philanthropic, entrepreneurial. This list is not exhaustive, but they all serve to focus and measure the best of our students' knowledge, skills, and energies. They all involve connecting with mentors, undertaking apprenticeships, and employing resources outside of the university. They all bring learning out of the classroom and laboratory and into the public realm. The Polaris curriculum, which begins in the first term of the freshman year with a course on where ideas come from and moves through a series of courses, comprises 21 credits out of 180, or roughly 12% of those needed to graduate. And what's the use of this? Well, the process of researching, planning, and implementing a project from the ground up develops capacities, habits, and skills essential for success, not just in work, but in life. The process of trying, failing, and trying again develops humility, resilience, patience, and creative thinking. Repeated practice teaches students essential life skills, including how to analyze and synthesize complex information, craft effective proposals, and present their ideas clearly and persuasively in speech and writing. The third and final part of our curriculum is our Centers of Academic Inquiry. By the end of the sophomore year, students will have completed what we're calling Center Foundation courses in their chosen area and will apply for acceptance in one of our three centers: Arts and Letters, Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math, or STEM, or Economics, Politics, and History. Over the course of their junior and senior years, they will complete a rigorous interdisciplinary academic core and develop the skills and specialized knowledge needed to pursue their interests in professional and productive ways. So the mission of the STEM Center is to teach students how to think and reason quantitatively, exercise creativity, formulate and solve complex problems, and communicate technical solutions clearly in order to inform good decision-making and foster innovation. The STEM core currently comprises courses in mathematics, physics, and data science, and the STEM Center offers a concentration in computer and data science. The mission of the Center for Politics, Economics, and History, which we call CEF, right, an acronym, is to produce an integrative and historically informed understanding of politics and economics, which is sometimes referred to as a single discipline of political economy. The CEF core includes courses in economics and economic history, political science, historiography, and data science. CEF currently offers a concentration in politics, economics, and history. The mission of the Center for Arts and Letters is to develop the skills and historical awareness necessary to make informed, lasting, and important contributions to our shared culture by studying and participating in debates about systems of belief and by analyzing and creating works of art and literature. The CalCore consists of an interdisciplinary sequence of courses covering the intellectual, social, and political history of the West. Cal offers a concentration currently in literature and creative writing. Finally, UATX offers one more track, a joint track in ethics and politics, in which students take core courses in both arts and letters and CEF and study the classics of political philosophy and ethics. In closing, I want to once again thank the Commission and the Council for your time and attention. We stand ready to work with you as we prepare to open Texas's next great university.
Dr. Langley, I just wanted to acknowledge that Dr. Gina Anderson was able to join us. So welcome, Gina.
Thank you all very much.
Yes, thank you, Cam. Welcome, Gina. It's good to see you. Thank you so much, Jacob, for that overview. Now we're going to move and ask the UATX site team lead to provide a 5 to 10 minute overview of the team report at this time.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon. I was the team lead of the site visit of UATX in Austin, Texas on May the 9th through the 11th of 2023. I was accompanied by Dr. Carleen Van Zant, Associate Vice Chancellor and Professor Emerita at the University of Wisconsin, Dr. Ann Kinnemer, Professor and former Associate Provost for Undergraduate Studies, Texas A&M University, and representation from the Texas Higher Education Board, Dr. Paul Schuler. The site team visited UATX for the sole purpose of making observations and reviewing UTX provided documentation related to 24 observable standards outlined in Chapter 7 of the Degree Granting Colleges and Universities Other than Texas Public Institutions, Subchapter A, General Provision related to UATX's application for an initial Certificate of Authority. At the conclusion of the site team visit, a report of evaluation was submitted to you for review detailing the team's observations. From the 24 standards, those standards having been determined as met were standards 2, 3 through 7, 10, 12, 13, 18 through 22, and 24. Those standards having been determined as not met were 1, 8, 9, 11, 14, 15, 17, and 23. The site team determined that 16 was not applicable at the time. I would like to address some of the main points from each of those three categories I just described, starting with the MET standards. So it was observed by me and the team that UATX has a strong and passionate leadership team that has the requisite amount of character, education, and experience in higher education. The site team interviewed board members, the president's chief of staff, chief academic officer, chief financial officer, and other faculty, deans, and administrators, as well as reviewed curriculum vitae. The board shared its nearly complete draft of its UATX constitution, outlining the thorough facilitation of governance by the board and officers of the institution. In relation to financial resources, UATX, at the time of the visit, had more than enough adequate reserves to provide education of good quality and to be able to fulfill its commitments to students. These financial resources currently are primarily driven from philanthropic donations. UATX also provided documentation of an institutional assessment plan that calls for continual and effective assessment, planning, and evaluation through a three-part assessment of institutional academic assessment, support services assessment, and strategic planning processes. UATX has clear admissions criteria, policies, and procedures in place. The planned number of faculty will be able to support the program, and a faculty handbook has been created and will be distributed to all faculty, which includes a statement on academic freedom and addresses appropriate policies and procedures. At the time of the visit, UATX had ascertained an adequate amount of space to conduct its intended program. Plans and documents were reviewed for the needed renovations to fully prepare the space for the matriculation of students in the fall of 2024. Academic records will be maintained in software called Populi and fully comply with all of the listed criteria of the applicable standard. UATX demonstrated appropriate level of controls that will ensure accurate and fair representation in publications, advertising, and promotion. UATX will provide effective academic and counseling services to its student population through the Polaris Center, which among other services will consolidate administrative functions of the university into a single center. Student rights and responsibilities have been clearly documented and articulated, and processes are planned to be in place to monitor student outcome. Now I'd like to discuss some of the high points from these standards not met. At the time of the site visit, a certificate of approval to operate a career school or college or a letter of exemption from the Texas Workforce Commission was not provided. The site visit team observed that there is clear program evaluation in place that covers the time through fiscal year 2027, but lacked a well-defined procedure for continuing the planning and evaluation as the institution grows and expands beyond that in their programming. The library space at the time of the visit had not been completed, although as previously mentioned, plans and contracts have been executed to have the space completed in ample time to matriculate students as planned. Of the 11 faculty members on staff, curriculum vitae were not provided for two of the 11, so it was not possible for the team to observe faculty qualifications completely. The site team observed inconsistencies between the certificate of authority application and the 2024-25 catalog that was presented as documentation. The certificate application proposes to grant a Bachelor of Arts in Liberal Arts and Sciences / Liberal Studies. However, the catalog lists the program as a Bachelor of Arts in Liberal Studies. And because of this inconsistency, it was not possible to determine whether the curriculum adequately covered the breadth of knowledge of the discipline or if coursework proposed by the institution relates to the prospective baccalaureate program. UATX's general education component does not adequately address the natural sciences in its courses of study. At the time of the site visit, approximately 16 months before matriculation of students, plans have been solidified, but a library has not yet been established, and UATX had not ensured students have access to learning resources and related staff services, equipment, and facilities. Health and safety standards appear to have been on the front end of planning, but will be built out in the next few months. Finally, the third category, Standard 16, we determined was not applicable since UATX will not grant credit work for outside a collegiate setting. That concludes my comments on the observations of UATX and the 24 standards as it relates to the application for certificate of authority. And again, it was a pleasure for myself and my site team to visit with UATX when we were there. That's one thing I would like to really stress is they are very passionate about what they are doing at UTX, and it showed, and it was really emitted very nicely. And they were very cooperative, provided any kind of documentation that we wanted at any, very rapidly. So the site team visit was very, very thankful to the staff of UATX. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chuck, for that overview. At this time, we're going to ask the CAC members to, if they have any questions, so they're able to make a recommendation on approval or denial of the application. I would like to remind the members that the outcome of any question is to determine if all standards have been met. The CAC members may have other general questions, but the focus of this discussion is the standards and if the applicant has met those standards. Please note that there were 15 standards deemed met. Standard 2, qualification of institutional officers. Standard 3, governance. Standard 4, distinction of roles. Standard 5, financial resources and stability. Standard 6, financial records. Standard 7, institutional assessment. Standard 10, student admission. Standard 12, faculty size. Standard 13, academic freedom and faculty security. Standard 16, credit for work outside of collegiate setting was deemed not applicable. Standard 18, facilities. Standard 19, academic records. Standard 20, accurate and fair representation in publications, advertisement, and promotion. Standard 21, academic advising and counseling. Standard 22, standard rights and responsibilities, and standard 24, learning outcomes. I would like to ask the CAC members if they have any comments on the standards that were met at this time. I take that as a no. We'll move on. Next, we're going to see if you have any questions for the 8 unmet standards. And I will call those standards out. If you have questions, please let me know or let us know. Standard 1, legal compliance. Are there any questions about this standard and the applicant's response?
I had a question if there was an update on the certificate of exemption with Texas Workforce Commission.
Did I go ahead and answer that?
Please.
So yes, there is an update. It's been an interesting process, I guess. So at the time of the site visit, we had applied for an exemption the year before, but between turnover at Texas Workforce and turnover in our own organization, the records for all of that were lost, and Texas Workforce had no record of it. We had no receipts from those conversations. Immediately after the site visit, we applied again for an exemption in May. We received an initial communication back on June 8th saying they would review our file. We heard nothing else until June 30th, at which time they said we needed documentation that we were exempt from real estate taxes in Texas, from property taxes in Texas. We own no property. We reached out to both Travis County and to the state comptroller's office to find out what kind of exemption letter we could get. We submitted those materials immediately on June 30th to the Workforce Commission. We received a response back finally on July 28th that what they were looking for was a specific document talking about business personal property exemptions from the Travis County Appraisal District. We immediately applied for that. That document is still outstanding. We are waiting for that process to clear. I spoke with the person who's handling it at the Travis County Appraisal District earlier, last Friday. And he indicated at this time they were setting up the account and then they would be processing the application. My understanding is once we have that document in hand, the Workforce Commission can then send us a letter saying we are still missing the THECB authorization, which is one of the requirements, which we would then submit to the coordinating board, who would then issue a certificate of authorization contingent on us getting that exemption. And then we could use that authorization to get the exemption because the two pieces of the administrative code point at each other. So we are waiting for the Travis County Appraisal District to submit that form. In our conversations with them, they didn't see any issues with it. We are exempt from all other kinds of taxes. We're a 501c3 in the IRS code. We meet all the standards, and we have a letter from them that says we are missing the THECB exemption and that document. It wasn't until July 28th that they actually identified the specific document that they wanted. And so we are in the process of responding to that as quickly as we can. I will point out that the expectation is that we will have that in hand well before the October 25th cause meeting.
And
Thank you.
Thank you.
are we able to just put that as a condition when we're voting, since it's in process?
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah,
If you would like to add that, you can do that at that time.
okay. 'Cause
Thank you. Anyone else on standard one? Okay, thank you, Mike, for your response. Let's move to standard 8, program evaluation. Are there any questions about this standard and the applicant's response? Okay, we're going to move now to standard 9, administrative resources. Are there any questions about this standard and the applicant's response? CAC members. Thank you. Standard 11, faculty qualifications. Are there any questions about this standard and the applicant's response? Standard 14, curriculum. Are there any questions about this standard and the applicant's response? Yes.
Hi, I have a question. I'm sorry, I'm just looking for my question. Give me just a half a second here.
That's fine.
Can you tell me exactly which courses will address the natural sciences? Because they were very, well, just tell me which course, because I think I know what you're going to say, but I just want to make sure.
Yeah, so what we did is we added 2 courses, one in physical science and one in natural science, and we're calling them Foundations of Science 1 and Foundations of Science 2. And again, I think that's something that, this is a kind of tangible benefit to us of the site visit. I think our curriculum is much stronger because of that. Obviously, we were required to sort of take some other courses because we wanted to leave the 54 credits, limits for intellectual foundations. But I think we were able to sort of consolidate some things and move one course into arts and letters that students will be able to take as an elective. So I think it leaves us in a much stronger position, and I appreciate the recommendation of the visiting committee on that.
And they're 3 credit hours each?
Yeah, those are 3 credit hours each.
Thank you. And your whole Bachelor's of Arts is 180 credits, and the standard for the state is 120 credits?
Well, so this is just a kind of math thing. And I should say, by the way, I came from the University of Tulsa. I taught there for 34 years. And that's the only place I had ever worked in academia before, and we were on a semester system. So I was used to 120 credit standard. I was informed that universities that are on a term system often use, they multiply by 1.5 the number of credits required for graduation in a semester system. And we decided, for various reasons, right or wrong, to go with that and to multiply by 1.5. So a 3 credit course, or like the equivalent in a 10-week period of a 15-week course, I think this was the reason, right? Of a 3 credit course, that is a course that meets 3 hours of class time a week in a semester system, would be 4.5, right, in a 10-week term. So that's basically what we did. I hope that's not too confusing. I know that sometimes people sort of wonder like, what's going on here? You're multiplying by 50% the amount of work that students need to do, but that's not the case.
Thanks for your answer, Dr. Helen. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions on standard 14 curriculum?
I will just say that I am familiar with the difference in credit hour production. Am I understanding you correctly of this 4.5 sort of credit as an equivalent to a 3 credit hour course is commonly used in liberal arts institutions?
That's my understanding.
I tag on there too, because at first I thought that was a typo. And then I looked a little closer. So I don't know if you started trying to encourage articulation agreements with like community colleges in the area. When you do, how are you going to express this difference so that you can encourage, say, a student coming from Austin Community College to come to you with very little confusion, or that they know 100% is going to be transferred, and they don't have 3 more years to go. They only have 2 more years to go.
Well, I think yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, if I can speak to this a little bit, in a lot of institutions that have quarter systems, like the University of California, for example, right, they form those articulation agreements with community colleges frequently. And, it has to do with identifying the programmatic components and finding equivalency that way. In terms of communication, there are the 2 standards that are common in higher ed between quarters and semesters. Right, you have 2 15-week semesters instead of 3 10-week quarters. And so it does create a little bit of complexity in negotiating those agreements. But again, you focus on kind of the articulated, here's a language track, here's a quantitative methods track, and the equivalencies typically work out across those ways. And what typically happens is, in the ones that I've seen in detail, is you end up giving up a couple units here or a couple units there to fit it into those boxes. And then you give them kind of general education credits for elective courses in that core and things like that.
Thank you. I have a follow-up question to that. Have you had any discussions to that fact within your community colleges or anyone that you're doing or possibly want to do articulation agreements with? And if so, what were the responses?
So we've had conversations about articulation agreements with a wide range of institutions. One of the limitations on the initial certificate of authority is that we're not allowed to transfer. And so we haven't really pursued signing any of those yet. It's our intention in the course of the next 1.5 years to start digging deeper in those once we get into that second certificate of authority so that we can build those programs. We think that the community college is an absolutely wonderful resource for the student populations that we would like to serve. So we're excited about that opportunity. But we've also, with all the details of launching a new university, kind of put that in the next year pile of conversations to finalize as we get ready, hopefully, to secure the authorization from THECB to launch.
Thank you so much for that response. Anyone else? All right, we're going to move to, and thank you again, we're going to move to standard 15, general education. Are there any questions about this standard and the applicant's response? Standard 17 is next, learning resources. Are there any questions about this standard and the applicant's response? And standard 23, health and safety. Are there any questions about this standard and the applicant's response? Anyone? All right, so we're gonna just ask one last time if there are any questions at all of anything that I haven't called out. Did you, okay, Cheryl?
Yeah, just quickly, just, I'm sorry, just going back to standard 9, which was administrative resources. And I see on item number 2, where they say built out university space. And that they're awaiting approval by the city to regain construction occupancy, and they expect about October 2023. So have you had an update on that as far as your space?
Absolutely. We pursued the expedited review process under the Austin City planning process because our site is in the city of Austin. We had our hearing on July 27th. We are now in the process of reconciling some of the requests that they made at that hearing. We're hoping in the next 2 weeks to have our building permit. We have ordered building materials. We've signed with the general contractor and have the subcontracts all signed for the build out. We have addressed the issues that the city raised, which were actually the biggest issue that they raised was that they forgot that there were 2 fire escapes attached to the space. And so there was an occupancy question about fire egress. And it turns out we had twice the capacity that they thought we did. And that was reconciled. There was another one where they were worried about too many people standing in one place. And so we put offices there so that couldn't happen. I mean, those were the 2 major issues that they raised. So it was basically design issues. It is in the hands of the structural engineers right now. And I was hoping for an answer yesterday, so I could tell you the great news today, but we're still waiting for the city planning department to get back to us on signing off on all those details. So we are very close to construction. My hope is that by the THECB hearing in October, we will have our certificate of occupancy for the space. It may be plus or minus a couple of weeks around that, but that's our hope.
Okay. And what, if you don't mind sharing, what are we looking at as far as maximum occupancy for that space that you're talking about?
Well, if you go with the fire code numbers, it's something like 400.
Okay.
Our expectation is that the space we've secured for right now, that we're built out right now, will cover our core student population for the first 2 years. And that during the course of the first year, actually, we'll be negotiating space. There is a identical space beneath us that comes available in that time that has been on and off the sublease market. We've been talking to the owners there, where we would basically double our capacity actually with more than double, because a lot of the administrative offices are taking up room in the existing space we have. In that new space, it could be committed completely to students and faculty and support infrastructure for the students. So we're kind of excited by that possibility. The site is a historic building in downtown Austin, which is very exciting for the University of Austin. It's funny because we have our little crest, if you see it on the application anywhere, has the state capitol and the Congress Street Bridge with the bats. And we are literally halfway between the two. And that was all coincidence. So it's kind of a cool artifact of our history.
Okay. So if that space wasn't ready when you wanted it, it wouldn't cause any issues as far as
No.
your classroom space
Yeah.
and the things you want to do with the students and all that.
No, so we're hoping to have it in November. We're not targeting a class entering until the September of the following year. So we have a 10-month margin in that timeline.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? The CAC is tasked with making a recommendation to the commissioner and the coordinating board regarding the current application. Based on the discussion and questions today, the CAC can make a recommendation to either approve or deny the application. The CAC can also defer a recommendation and ask the applicant for additional information if it believes there is not enough information to make a recommendation. At this time, I'm going to ask the THECB staff if they have any additional restrictions or conditions should the CAC members vote to recommend approval of the UATX's application for certification of authority. Yeah.
Yes, excuse me, as this is an initial application with no previous operating history, our rules do provide for some conditions and restrictions. And I'm going to have Dr. Paul Schuler provide that information if he could.
Thank you, Kim. There are required conditions for institutions without an operational history. And those conditions are the institution may not apply for an amendment during its initial certificate of authority. Institution must report to the THECB changes in administrative personnel or faculty. And the institution must provide to the THECB a report after 1 year that includes documentation of continued exemption or approval by TDBC or Texas Workforce Commission, and a current audited financial statement that includes break-even calculations, also enrollment and retention figures, and documentation of continued validity of surety instrument, and finally, an updated accreditation plan. And one thing to note to the institution, these conditions would be in the approval letter that would come after approval. So I see you busily taking notes. I would be too, but they'll be in the letter, to you. So. And then in addition, the commissioner, upon the review, can also make recommendations, add any recommendations, restrictions or conditions.
Thank you so much, Paul and Cam. At this time, we're going to ask for a motion and a second. These are recommend approval or recommend denial of UATX's application for an initial certification of authority. If the CAC members would rather defer a recommendation and ask for additional information, a motion can be made to delay recommendation, excuse me, until further review of the listed requirements. This would be list specific standards or information that the CAC would like to have before making that said recommendation. And if the recommendation is to deny, we will go to a different section. So at this time, I'm going to ask for a motion.
This is Tom. I'll make a motion to approve application. I don't believe we need to put a condition since it's already there, correct, for standard one?
This is Gina Anderson from TWU. I second.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Gina.
Can I clarify, was the motion made with the conditions and restrictions that Dr. Schuler had listed?
So, okay, so with the conditions that Dr. Schuler listed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, do we have any discussion, further amendment, restrictions, conditions, or anything? If not, we're ready to vote. And we are stating if we're going to approve the recommendation to move forward. So at this time, individual CAC members, if you would vote, I vote to approve.
Gina Anderson, I vote to approve.
Jane Michella, I vote to approve.
I'm wrong. I vote to approve.
Everyone?
Cheryl Snee Green, I vote to approve with the conditions that Dr. Schuler spelled out.
John Vassar, I vote to approve.
Thank you. Cam, I think we got everybody. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, because the screen's bouncing around. Okay, we have voted for the CAC members to approve the recommendation with the conditions presented by Mr. Paul Schuler. So at this time, we're going to turn the meeting back over to Cam.
All right, thank you very much. The next scheduled CAC meeting is November 2nd, 2023. As a reminder, this committee has been authorized to continue meeting virtually. Staff will provide an update should this ever change. Since we do have a small advisory committee, I very much appreciate that you all join us every time. Remember that especially when a member leaves an institution or has an unavoidable conflict, we have a very narrow number to meet the quorum. So I very much appreciate that you are all here today. Please put the upcoming meeting on your calendar. Again, it is November 2nd. I thank you for your willingness to serve and ensure we always have a quorum. And I thank you we had a lot of meeting materials to get through today. I appreciate that you took the time to review them. Finally, if you have any expenses, please email me a summary of your expenses. We're required to report that amount that advisory committee members expend for meetings, and that might include travel, not today, but copies you made and so forth. That's all I have, Dr. Langley.
Thank you so much, Cam, and I also want to appreciate Jacob and Mike for being, I see you, Gina, for being online today and providing some information for us. So I want to appreciate your time as well as the CAC members. And Gina raised her hand, so I'm going to let her have say at this time.
Thank you. Just a quick question for Cam.
Yes.
That meeting on November the 2nd, does it start also at 1 o'clock?
No, we will go back to our regular time of 10 to noon.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I would just like to thank you all for your time and your excellent work. And obviously, we're very pleased with the outcome of this meeting. So thanks again. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you, I guess, in a year or two. So.
Well, with our next step goes to our committee and then to our full board. So that's
Right.
probably when you'll see our staff members next.
Oh, that's right. That's right. And obviously I got ahead of myself. I'm a little excited. So thank you so much.
Sure.
Really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Langley.
Thank you so much. And then again, thank you to everyone. Thank you, Cam, for guiding us through this. You and Paul, I appreciate that. And so at this time, the meeting is adjourned. Everyone have a blessed day.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.